Hello everyone and welcome back to some more Warhammer Underworlds for the channel using the new boards from the Death Gorge box. The release still not showing off any of the new warbands that came in that box yet. That will be a work in progress for further down the line. But we can at least see one side of the new tiles and bringing in the new rules. Well, only really one new rule. When you kill someone you can put down a feature token, so you can put up some blockable ice for the turn. That's really the only difference, and the difference to charge moves that we've already integrated, or rather, if everybody on your warband has a charge token, they can now do a move action if they wish. So that's really the only two significant changes, one of which we've already seen. And we are seeing a new warband on the table today. It is Drepur's Wraithcreepers, aka Horse Donkey Ghosts or something, I'm not sure, going up against the Gorechosen of Dromm. So skeletal horses versus angry boys is the name of the game today. Let's take a look at both sides. They've already rolled off for who's placing 3 objective tokens as opposed to 2. It's behind them, but we can talk about that in a second. So here is Drepur's Wraithcreepers, and the problem with this warband is 2 of them look incredibly similar, the 2 on either side here. They're basically just pointing their spears forward, so it's a little bit hard to differentiate them. The other 2 not so much. Viceroy Drepur himself is the one kind of outstretching his hand to shake it with his spear against his shoulder blade there. He also has the most ostentatious amount of tomb on his base, or whatever that is. So he is the warband's leader, and then the patrician is this one here with the drum. I think he acts as like a buffing unit for them mostly, although their main goal is just kill. They're a very, very easy to use warband. I've used these once on Tabletop Simulator. Really just murder focused, ironically, given we're going against Khorne. But very simple, very new player friendly in my opinion. Anyway, and then on the side we have Grodrig the Lance, who is just purely focused on the lance, and then Sire Hackfell over here. And the way you differentiate him is he has that bird, the bird with the skeleton face on his base, because that's really the only difference between these 2 on the sides here. So they'll be placing 2 objective tokens. Don't know in advance what they are, but we'll flip them from whence they came once they are deployed. And here is the Gorechosen of Dromm. I think this is their 3rd showing on the channel. Not as kill focused as you might think for people who are Khorne affiliated, but either way they'll be gathering blood tithe counters for receiving damage or taking damage. They start the game with 1 each. That is related to their Inspire condition and objective cards. Forgot to mention the Inspire condition for Drepur's Wraithcreepers. They simply just need to have enemies within 2 hexes of them when they activate. It's a super simple Inspire condition for them. I can't remember if it's 1 enemy or 2. Let me see here. At the start of activation, 1 or more enemy fighters are within 2 hexes. So as long as you begin with an enemy within range, you inspire. So they inspire super easy. Dromm and his boys, they have to have 3 or more blood tithe counters. So again, if they've been taking damage or dealing damage, they can get that by turn 2 probably. So that about covers it. We'll get both sides deployed and then we're back. And so both sides are set up, and the Gorechosen of Dromm will be taking first action in the first round of 3. Let's flip over the objective tokens though and see what's what. There is objective number 5. There is objective number 2. Apologies if I'm casting a large shadow. It is the dankness of winter for you. Down here we have objective number 3. Over here objective number 1, which means this is objective number 4. So an even spread right next to no man's land right there. And because they are new on the table, I totally forgot to cover Drepur's Wraithcreepers general statistics. Most of them do 2 damage, with the exception of the patrician, with the drum rather. They have a mixture. 2 of them have 4 health, 2 of them have 3 health. They all move 3, and in general they're looking for hammers, with the exception of the patrician, who's not really meant for fighting, so he's looking for swords. That's about it, and we've covered the Gorechosen stats before. So round 1, starting with Dromm and his boys. Let's see what happens. So the game got started by Skullgrinder Herrix, the littlest of the 3 of the Gorechosen. Then of course we have Dromm, and then we have the big Gorehulk. He just did a move action from where he started. Incidentally, these boards do allow for some very aggressive placement if you flip them the way they have. Like the spawn points, you can be very forward facing, which kind of suits them. So he did a movement action onto objective 3, didn't do anything else with his turn. However, you'll notice that there is some movement on the other side. That was in the power phase. However, first, Skin of Brass was played. It's a Dromm card. He's still alive, so you can play it. He is choosing Herrix, and that means until the end of the round or until he's dealt damage. -1 damage from attack actions to a minimum of 1 that target him. So in most cases that'll help him out. But Drifting Death was played by the Wraithcreepers. You choose 2 friendly fighters and push each one hex closer to the closest enemy fighter. So we have Hackfell. Is this Hackfell? No, it's not Hackfell. There's no bird there. The bird is down there. So that would be Grodrick. Move forwards 1, and then so did Drepur himself onto objective 2 to the top left of your screen. Grodrick got the game started for the Wraithcreepers, instantly inspiring when he started his activation because there was 1 or more enemy fighters within 2 hexes. He gets +1 movement on his other side, and he gets Ensnare on his basic attack. I think that's it. They don't get super much when they inspire, I guess, because it is such an easy inspire condition. He did a charge action, moving just 2 hexes from where he started, down here in order to attack Herrick, rolling 2 dice, needing hammers, and getting a crit, which was not defended against. That would be 2 damage, however, because of the Skin of Brass, that is actually just 1 damage of Herrick's 4 health. That does also give him a second Blood Tithe counter. Oh, neither side played a card in the power phase, however, they are making advantage of forcing him back 1 square for successfully landing a hit, moving him back right there. The Gorehulk activated next, doing a charge action but only moving 1 hex down onto the objective 3 that was just freed up by Herrick's getting pushed, and choosing to try and hurt, forgotten his name again, Grodrick, really hard, because he has 2 choices of his attack. He can do an attack that doesn't have a super high chance of landing 2 dice needing swords, but it does a massive 3 damage, which actually would have one-shot Grodrick. Or he can choose to try and choke them, which has a very high chance of landing, but only does 1 damage. He opted to try and go for the kill. Thought it was secured with the crit roll there, but a crit was rolled in defense. He rolls 2 defense dice needing dodges, but obviously the crits just cancel each other out. So Grodrick lives, and nothing else is happening there. And again, no power cards, no gambit cards rather, in the power phase either. There may not have been any cards played, however, the Patrician has a reaction he can do at the end of an opponent's power step, where he can choose 1 friendly fighter and push them 1 hex towards the closest enemy fighter. So Viceroy Drepur himself has been pushed 1 more hex forwards, closer to Dromm, who's now 1 hex away. And Drepur himself was the second activation for his Wraithcreepers, instantly inspiring because he was now 2 hexes away, as just explained, from Dromm. On his inspired side, he goes to 4 movement, and his basic attack goes up by 1 dice, so instead of 2 dice needing hammers, he gets 3 dice. And also, he gets rerolls, actually, I think. Does he? Yeah, you can reroll 1 die. So actually, he could have re-rolled this. Not that there was any point, because the attack did get through against Dromm for 2 damage. So that's 2 of his 5 health, but that does give him a Blood Tithe counter as well. Third activation for Dromm's Gorechosen was the man himself, who stayed still and took a swing at Drepur with his axe and staff. 2 dice, needing hammers, getting 1 hammer, which was blocked by a crit. The Wraithcreepers' defense rolls have been pretty on fire. During the power phase this time there was a card played, but it was by the Wraithcreepers. It was Horrifying Shriek. Choose 1 enemy fighter within 3 hexes of 1 or more friendly fighters and push the chosen fighter 1 hex. So we're going to have to expand the camera a little bit because it's the Gorehulk and he is being pushed over yonder. These long spears keep getting in the way, but he is being pushed that away. He couldn't get pushed onto a lethal hex because it's 2 away, but still got him off the objective. Forgot to cover, but as a reaction after Dromm's turn, or in his power phase, the Patrician once again did his reaction to move Sir Hackfell 1 hex forwards. He started there, so he was there. So that meant during his turn he could do a charge action to go 1, 2, 3 onto the unoccupied now, square number 3, and did a charge attack action into Herrick's here, needing hammers on 2 dice, got a crit and a hammer. He did get 1 successful block, which makes a change on defense dice, to be honest. Doesn't matter though, the attack still gets through because of that crit. 2 damage, but reduced down to 1 because of Skin of Brass. In the power phase, Fevered Beat is being played. Play this only in your power step. Enemy fighter attack actions have the Needing Swords characteristic in the next activation. So for the final activation for the Gorechosen this round, they will just roll Needing Swords, which for all of them, the Gorehulk rolls Needing Swords as well, actually. Oh, he actually needed swords on his big attack. I don't remember if that was what we were looking for, if it was hammers. Everything else is hammers, but for this next round, regardless, it'll be swords. So with limited options on what they want to do and having a couple of their plans for scoring cards in the end phase scuppered there, the last action for the first round for the Gorechosen was Herrick's activating again and doing another move. Now he actually inspired from that damage he just took, so he's got 4 movement and he gains, what does he gain? Stagger. He gains stagger on his basic attack, and he can also start spending blood tithe counters to get range 2 on his attacks. But he just did a move because he can't do a charge if you've got a move token, and moved up to where you can see him there next to, well, not on Dromm, but near Dromm. And now it's over to the Wraithcreepers' final action for the first round. A simple enough activation. The Patrician activated and did a move action, getting away from Herrick's up to the top right there, and just moving on to objective number 5. He doesn't need to be within a certain range to get that reaction off every time to make his other friends charge 1 hex, or rather move 1 hex at per steps. So he's fine over there, taking us to the end phase. So at the end of a rather disastrous round 1 for the Gorechosen of Dromm, where they just couldn't land a hit and managed to get bruised, they didn't do so well. Their plans did get scuppered a little bit, but that didn't stop them scoring a 2-pointer. So for 2 glory, they have scored Worshipped in Battle. Score in the end phase if 2 or more surviving friendly fighters have 1 or more of blood tithe counters, and they're within 1 hex of no man's territory. Doom and doom, yes they are, so that is 2 glory. For the Wraithcreepers though, they are scoring 3. They're scoring Deathly Blooms. I love the art on their cards, by the way, it's great. Score in the end phase if your warband holds 1 or more objectives in enemy territory. They certainly do. In fact, they hold 2, which means they can also score Death's Triumph. Score in the end phase if your warband holds 2 or more objectives in enemy territory. They do currently hold objective 3 and objective 4, which are in the Gorechosen's territory. So we'll cover where that glory is being spent at the top of round 2. So here we are at the top of round 2 of 3. The Wraithcreepers will be going first, but let's cover where that glory was spent. 3 glory all spent by the Wraithcreepers. They gave Tearing Claws to the Patrician. It's his specific upgrade. It gives him access to the attack you can see right there. Has Cleave and Ensnare, so it's pretty good at dealing consistent damage. So he's got that upgrade. The other 2 upgrades are both going on Drepur to buff up the leader. He's been given Paul or Pal of Fear, which just means -1 dice from range 1 and range 2 attack actions that target him to a minimum of 1, so he's harder to hurt. And he's also just taking out a casual Murder Pact, which is a bit more complicated. +1 damage to this fighter's range 1 and range 2 attack actions if he has support from 1 or more friendlies, and also +1 dice to other friendly fighters' attack actions if he is supporting them. So rather than just offering, making support successes, he can get damage if he's got friends nearby and he offers damage. Or, +1 damage or +1 dice, respectively. For the Gorechosen, the Gore Hulk is being given 2 upgrades by the 2 glory they had. He's become a Crazed Rampager, which is just very fitting. He has +2 movement while he makes a charge, which means he's movement 5 during charges. He's also been sharpened by Rage, which means in the declare attack action step, he can remove a blood tithe counter to either give Cleave, Ensnare, or knock back 1 to his attack actions until the attack is resolved. He currently only still has the 1 because no hits have landed on him and he didn't do damage either, so he might not want to spend that yet because he probably wants to inspire, but Dromm's 1 away from inspiring and Herrick's is already inspired. And with that, let's jump into the round. So round 2 for the Wraithcreepers, it got started with the Patrician deciding to use that upgrade card, the Tearing Claws, to do a charge action first of all, so he moved on to objective 2 from objective 5, base to base with Herrick's, very similar names, rolling 2 dice, needing swords, which he did get, but because it's got Cleave and Ensnare on it, he had to get a crit because it counters blocks and dodges. He didn't get it, it does 2 damage, and that does mean that he is out of there. He gives up 1 glory for being murdered, and he also gave up 1 more glory for Piercing Blow, being able to be sword. Score this immediately after an activation in which a friendly fighter's range, or not range, just attack action, with Cleave was successful. He did. He's still not inspired, by the way, because he didn't start within 2 of Herrick's. He was 3 hexes away. But he did manage to get himself 2 more glory. One of those is being spent on the Point of Death, which is being given to Sir Hackfell, which just gives him a reroll on 1 die if he's made a charge. Simple as that. Just a small upgrade. During the power phase, though, the Gorechosen of Dromm played Blood Boil. You pick an enemy within 2 hexes of Dromm. Their blood briefly boils and deals 1 damage to them. That is being done to Hackfell, who is within 2 hexes. There's actually 2 of them within 2 hexes of Dromm. He's picking this gentleman down here, though, with the bird. So he now has taken 1 damage and only has 2 health left. The Gore Hulk was up first for the Gorechosen of Dromm. He stayed still and swung into Hackfell. However, he did spend his 1 Blood Tithe counter for Sharpened by Rage to give himself Ensnare, which meant that Sir Hackfell would have to roll a crit to defend against any successes. He only got 1 because it needed swords. It's the less dice, less chance of hitting, but for a massive 3 damage, which even if he didn't have the 1 damage as it turns out, so Dromm should have blood boiled Drepur with hindsight, but that damage is enough that Hackfell and his upgrade he just got are out of there. 1 glory earned, which is being spent on Wrath Incarnate, and that's being given to Dromm, not just because he's on it, I guess. So he has cumulative abilities based on the number of Blood Tithe counters he has. If he has 1+, he can't be driven back. If he has 2+, he has 1+ move. 3+, he does +1 damage. He currently has 2, because that Blood Boil spell happens in the power step, which doesn't trigger the Blood Tithe. Next up for the Wraithcreepers was Grodrig, who did a charge action to move on to Objective 3 and attack the Gore Hulk, rolling a success and a crit. He did roll a successful block, but the crit trumps it for 2 damage. That's the first damage he's taken though, and his second Blood Tithe counter, so he's closer to inspiring now. In the power step, it ended up that the Wraithcreepers played 2 cards, the Gorechosen chose to play none, and it started with Enervating Beat, to give them a bit of protection for their next action, or rather the enemy's next action. Play only in your power step -1 damage from enemy fighters range 1, range 2 attack actions in the next activation to a minimum of 1. So it's just going to stay there as a reminder for what's about to happen. But they're also doing Unending Pursuit, which is why the Patrician is 1 hex to the right of where he was. Oh, can't quite see. He was on Objective 2, he's now 1 step closer. Choose 1 friendly fire, push that fire 1 hex. Super simple, just a little bit of movement there. Dromm activated for his warband, staying where he was and launching an attack into Drepur, despite the various upgrades that Drepur has. So -1 damage to a minimum of... oh wait, no, it's not -1 damage, it's -1 die, sorry, so he was only rolling the 1 die, hence why there's only 1 there. From his attack, which needed hammers on his uninspired side, he got the 1 successful hammer, rolling against just 2 dice needing dodges because he was not supported or supporting anyone, so his Murder Pact stuff didn't kick in. So it was just a -1 die, and he needed dodges, so he got nothing. That's 2 damage to Drepur of his 4 health. He was driven back, as Dromm chose to push him back, and that also gave him his 3rd Blood Tithe counter, so Dromm is now inspired. I think he gains 1 movement, and his basic attack now changes to 3 dice instead of 2, but it needs swords, but it has Grievous, so if he lands a crit it will do extra damage. That was it. There was -1 damage. I knew there was -1 damage somewhere. The Enervating Beat was the -1 damage, so he did only take 1 damage, but everything else did happen as explained. And we're staying up there as leader fights leader because Drepur activated, charged right back in on top of Objective 4, attacking with 3 dice needing swords into Dromm, got 1 crit, but Dromm was able to defend it off by getting a crit of his own, so no damage, and nobody playing anything in the power step. The Wraithcreepers actually have gone through their entire hand, so they've got nothing. Second last activation of the second round for the Gorechosen was the Gore Hulk, launching a strike into Grodrig. 3 dice again, needing 2 dice needing swords. Got 1 set of swords, which were not blocked. He was looking for dodges, so that's a massive 3 damage, which actually outright kills him. He is out of there for 1 glory and a 3rd Blood Tithe counter, which means the Gore Hulk is now inspired. I've forgotten what he gets. I think he gets +1 health. He's got 6 health on his flip side, and I think his attacks, his choke gains a Grievous, I think, something else, something like that. He becomes more deadly, more dangerous. So at the end of the Gorechosen's activation in that power step, the Patrician is making use of his ability to move to move Drepur to one side there, and that just means because they both have charge tokens, they're making use of the new thing that's from the Deathgorge book, where if everyone has a charge token, they are now allowed to make a move action if they wish, and the Patrician is just doing exactly that, so that they're now both supporting each other against Dromm, but can't actually do anything this turn, and that is their final activation. Well, not exactly a bombastic end to the second round, but the Gorechosen of Dromm are activating the Gore Hulk, and he is doing a simple move action, which should have a token there, but it doesn't matter because it's the end of the round, simply walking on to Objective 3 to score them a card in the end phase, which we'll cover in a second. At the end of round 2 of 3, the Gorechosen have actually managed to bring back the score quite a bit, although both sides are scoring cards in the end phase. So we'll start with the Wraithcreepers. They're scoring Inevitable Advance. Again, the art on all their cards is so great. Score in the end phase if each surviving friendly fighter has one or more move or charge tokens. They each have a charge token, and the patrician also has a move token. So that scores for 1. They also have the Hunt Pursues for another 1. Scores in the end phase if each surviving friendly fighter is in enemy territory. They are indeed, thanks to, well, they were all in even before they started dying, I think. So those both score, so they gained 2, taking them to 2, 4, 6, 7. And for the Gorechosen though, the Blood Gods do is scoring for 1. Scoring the end phase if 3 or more fighters each have 1 or more wound counters or blood tithes. They both have blood tithes, both have wounds. Drepur also has a wound, so that scores in whatever combination you choose for 1. They're also scoring Blood Claim for 1. Score this in the end phase if 1 or more friendly fighters hold an objective within 1 of no man's territory. That's what the Gorehulk is doing. And then for 2, they are scoring Glorious Battle. Score this in the end phase if 4 or more fighters each have 1 or more charge tokens or blood tithe or blood tithe counters. Again, 2 of them have blood tithe counters, 3 of them have move counters, 2 of them have charge tokens, although it doesn't count move counters, does it? It's just charge and blood tithe. But that still adds up to 4. So that takes them to 2, 4, 6, 8. Oh, they're actually winning now. Wow. They're winning by 1 as we go into the final round. So here we are at the top of the third and final round, and it was kind of pivotal which warband gets to go first, and it is the Wraithcreepers again. Now first of all though, Spent Glory at the end of the last turn. Bitter Strength is being given to Drepur. He's given all the upgrades, so now he does +1 damage, so he is very scary now. And the Patrician is being given Death Grasp. It's not a super strong attack, well 2 damage is nothing to be, nothing to sniff at. But more importantly, if that attack action succeeds, you give a move token, so it can help control the battlefield. Probably better to get earlier on, but whatever. 2 upgrades are being spent on the Gorechosen's side. Aura of Wrath is being given to Dromm, which just means fighters within 2 can't be driven back. And Paragon of Slaughter is being given to Dromm to try and help him stay alive. In the declare attack action step, he can choose to remove a blood tithe counter, and if he does and the attack action succeeds, he can pick to heal or draw an extra power card. Might help, might not. With the Wraithcreepers going first, if Drepur is able to take him out, he would need to do 3 damage, which is now possible thanks to Bitter Strength. I guess we'll see, because that's going to be the first action, for sure. Yeah, I told you this is where it would be happening. 3 dice, needing hammers. For 2 damage base, I thought it needed that Bitter Strength upgrade. It actually didn't, because of Murder Pact, and he has support from the Patrician, which means his attacks are doing +1 damage. And it did get through, which is the 3 required to kill Dromm. However, because of Bitter Strength, it actually means it did 4 damage, so it overkilled him. He is double dead, because he didn't have anything that lowered damage against him. No, he would have been doing extra damage with the blood tithe, but he's not going to get the chance. He's out of there, and because he had 5 or more wounds, he had 5 in total, he's worth 2 glory, but he's actually worth 3 because Vengeance of Nagash is also being played. Score this immediately after an activation in which a friendly fighter made an attack action that took an enemy leader out of action. So a big swing back there. They were 1 behind, they're now 2 ahead for the Wraithcreepers, and just the Gorehulk left on the field. Well, the Gorehulk had to do his best. He did a charge action, which means he had 5 movement to play with, but he just went right on in there, and rolling only 2 dice instead of 3 because of Pile of Fear, but still managing to get 1 success, which was not blocked by Drepur, which is 3 damage. He doesn't have any damage mitigation or damage reduction, he just has 1 less die from the attack roll, and he does more when he attacks with those upgrades he's been given, which means he is dead, because he had 1 damage on him, and he just took 3. So that is 1 glory gain there, but it actually is 2 because of a Brutal Reckoning. Score this immediately after a friendly fighter's attack action takes an enemy fighter out of action if that friendly fighter had 1 or more blood tithe counters and or 1 or more wounds. He has 2 wounds and 3 blood tithe counters. 4 now, actually, because he got a successful hit, giving him 2, so I think that makes it all even Stevens, actually. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10... 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Yeah, it is totally even now for both sides. So it's actually coming down to these final few turns. Oh, it was almost over right there due to a card that could be played in the power phase. When Drepur died there, Deadly Vengeance could be played. If you're going to die from an attack, you get to do a free attack action. He did. He got 2 successes. The hammer and the single support, because the Patrician would have been where he was standing, helping him, supporting him. But the Gorehulk did manage to roll a crit, so the game is still going. Because if that had killed him, it basically would have been done. But Deadly Vengeance did not pay off. That was their trump card they were sitting on, and it did not pay off. So with just the Patrician left on the table, obviously he activated. He decided to use the Death Grasp, which he was just given on the Gorehulk. 3 dice, needing hammers for 2 damage, and it would have given him a move counter, although he already has a charge token, so it doesn't really matter. And he did land the hit though, and it does 2 damage, so that is the Gorehulk. Well, 1, he's up to 4 rage counters, but he's also up to 4 damage of his 6 health. So if one more hit lands on him, that's going to be it. And I don't think he can kill the Patrician in 1 round of attacking. No, he can't, because none of his attacks have Grievous. At best he could do 3, so this is coming down to the wire like we've been saying. And we're staying right here. The Gorehulk swung back at him, spending a Blood Tithe counter for Sharpened by Rage to give his attack Ensnare, so that the Patrician had to get a crit to block. As it turns out, the Gorehulk rolled a crit, so a crit was required anyway, which he didn't get, so that is 3 damage, leaving the Patrician on 1 health remaining. During the power phase, Overhead Smash is being played. If he'd remembered and played this in the first power phase, the Patrician would now die unless he moved during his activation. And he wouldn't have been able to move. Oh wait, no, he would have been able to move regardless, but it would have forced him to not try and kill the Gorehulk if this had been remembered. It wasn't though, so it's only being played now. Play this only in the power step following your activation. You cannot play this in your last power step. There's still 2 left, so that's fine. Choose a fighter adjacent to a friendly Gorehulk. At the start of your next activation, deal 2 damage to them if they are still adjacent. So in other words, actually it does still work out now. If the Patrician chooses not to move, he instantly dies when the Gorehulk's activation rolls around. But during his turn, he just needs to land a hit. If he lands a hit, the Gorehulk dies. And that'll win them the game, because he's worth 2, because he's got more than 5 wounds, or 5 or more wounds. So it comes down to the gamble. Do you do the attack, or do you play it safe and run away? And I guess that isn't really an option because they're drawing currently. Well, he took a bet. He placed his bet. He did a charge action for reasons to come round behind the Gorehulk here. Did his attack, got 2 successes with 1 of them being a crit, meaning that even if he'd rolled a crit on his 1 defense die, the Gorehulk could not do anything about it. So the Patrician lives as the last man standing. The Gorehulk is obliterated by the drum beats. He's worth 2 glory just on his own, but then it becomes 3 glory for an unstoppable death. Scorvus immediately after an activation of which a friendly fighter made a charge action in which they took an enemy fighter out of action. So that 3-point swing is probably going to do it there. There's not going to be anything else they can play for either side, so we're just going to jump straight to the last end phase now. So at the end of the game, we've got to go over the final end phase. However, the first time the Patrician attacked the Gorehulk and didn't kill him, he technically should have scored Untouchable Fury. I'm going to give that because it's not going to change the outcome anyway. That's just 1 more glory to the pile there, taking him, or taking them, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. Technically would have been a surge, would have been a scoreable card at the end phase. Scorvus in the end phase if your warband has 2 or more Blood Tithe counters. It actually would have. So actually he would have scored this in the end phase for another 1, which takes them to 12, right? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Again, it doesn't really matter because of that 3-point swing, I believe. Because in the end phase, they're also scoring Scythed down for 2 more. Scorvus in the end phase if 3 or more enemy fighters are out of action. All of them are, so that would be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15. So 15 playing the 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. So yeah, they won by 4. It is a very easy warband to use, the Drepur warband. Wraithcreepers, they're super good. I love the art on the cards, the models are fun, and they are just about killing, even more so than the Khorne team. With last man standing with his little itty bitty drum. Well, I guess that's a pretty big drum actually. But the Patrician is the last ghost horse standing and has won the day for his warband pretty comfortably right at the end there. Although, how would it have been if he'd missed if he'd whiffed, Scythe down wouldn't have scored, so that would have been a difference of 2. The Gorehulk would then activate Overhead Smash, which would kill for 1. He wouldn't score anything else beyond what we just covered though, so that would only take them to one more. No, they actually still would have had it even if the Patrician had died then, I think. No, because they scored an additional 3 for the Gorehulk dying, so it actually would have been a swing of 5. So that would have left them on 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Oh no, they would have won. It all came down to that last roll getting through. It would have been totally different. They would have lost by a couple, or 1, either way. yeah, the Gorechosen of Dromm actually would have taken it if Overhead Smash had procced when it did. Oh well. It came down to a final hit. It didn't look like it was gonna when the match started, because it looked like the Gorechosen just couldn't land a single hit. But they did kind of swing it back, and it became a close match in the end, which I hope you enjoyed watching. Please do remember to show your support if you like Underworld. I know it's not a super popular game, but it is very good. And if you do want to see more, let me know. Thank you very much for watching though. Hope you enjoyed it, and see you next time. Ta for now.